What's going on, everyone? So DeMar DeRozan is coming off of another really solid year in which he provided 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. So even at the age of 33, his game is still good enough to translate into the NBA as a scorer. And his time with the Chicago Bulls is looking more and more likely like it's coming to an end. There's plenty of reports out there that talk about, hey, Chicago's ready to move off of this kind of core group. There's talks about Lonzo Ball, and he may never play again, that they can't figure out what's going on with his knee. Zach LaVine is probably the better choice to keep around, although I think he would yield the biggest return out of anybody on the Chicago roster, so I could see them trying to move him. But DeMar DeRozan, at age 33, with the situation that Chicago's in, where they're not a good team. This roster has been put together long enough. It's not gonna all of a sudden be a contending team. They don't have the cap space to go and sign another marquee guy to lead this team or kind of reboot this team. So they really got to start tearing things down and look to pivot in another direction. Very likely the rebuild at this point. Unless they want to keep Zach LaVine, maybe move off of DeMar, get some other pieces, and maybe try to retool a bit. But even then, it's like, what are you going to do? Vu very likely might end up opting out, and then he's going to end up leaving, and Chicago's just going to kind of be dead in the water. And, this is a conversation that we had at the trade deadline, right? That Chicago needed to blow up this roster. Trade Zach LaVine to the Knicks. The Knicks want him. Supposedly, the Knicks would be willing to give a Godfather package to go and get Zach LaVine and then just rebuild. Same thing with DeMar DeRozan. But the problem with DeMar DeRozan is his market would be very limited. You're probably not getting much for DeMar DeRozan because how many teams are looking at it and going, oh man, 33-year-old shooting guard is what we are missing to win an NBA championship. Not many teams, if any. I do think that there are some teams that may be interested in him, but I don't see him yielding some massive return, right? But one team that definitely would is the Los Angeles Lakers, right? The Lakers are in the market for another star. They want another consistent go-to guy to help with LeBron James in his last few years, post LeBron James for Anthony Davis. Now, DeMar, obviously, again, 32 or 33, he'll be 34. He's only got probably a couple more years left. But one, I think that he would be that guy that the Lakers could really use, a guy that could close out down the stretch and hit shots. DeMar DeRozan was the number one clutch player in the league last year, not this past year that's still in the playoffs, but the following year, he was great in clutch time. He was a guy that was super efficient. It's still super efficient. His numbers are nearly identical outside of his three-point percentage this year. He's shooting 50.4% from the field, and last year he shot 50.4% from the field exactly. He's also shooting only 2 threes a game, so he's not the three-point shooter that the Lakers could need. DeMar DeRozan would, in my opinion, would have to not be the last stop, right? You go get DeMar DeRozan and then you go get some other pieces to kind of put around, maybe get some shooting, but I don't hate the idea of DeMar DeRozan. Again, you'd be adding a 25, 5-5 guy, a guy that can close down the stretches. If the Lakers had DeMar DeRozan in that Denver series, they probably win that Denver series, and the Lakers are probably up 1-0 looking to try to win another NBA championship, right? DeMar DeRozan is still at this stage an upgrade over D'Angelo Russell. It just comes down to what would it cost for Chicago. If Chicago is rebuilding, they probably don't want D'Angelo Russell, right? Maybe. He is 26, so maybe you could flip D'Lo and the 17th pick for DeMar DeRozan. I wouldn't give up multiple firsts. I'd even be a little hesitant to give up a first for DeMar because it's like, what is the market? Who's going to be competing with the Lakers for DeMar DeRozan? Not just that, but we know DeMar DeRozan wants to be a Laker. And he has said he would even be willing to take a discount to play for the Lakers. He would be a free agent next year, so his money would come off the books. And if he's great, right? You could go one last run with him, LeBron, and AD, especially if you win a championship. You could go that route and then re-sign DeMar DeRozan to a smaller deal. Especially at that point, he'd be going into age 35. So maybe you could sign him to a 2-year, whatever, $50 million deal, something like that, or 2-year, $40 million deal. So you could kind of retool it. It would give you some flexibility, and DeMar would probably be a guy that does that. Also would give you some time to kind of retool post LeBron. Got DeMar DeRozan, you could kind of go, okay, like, well, now LeBron's leaving, DeMar's 36. Like, now let's start pivoting and changing directions to go elsewhere. Also, DeMar's game very likely will continue to age well because he's not some high flyer. He's not some guy that's super reliant on his athleticism or his quickness or something like that. He is about just getting to his spots and knocking down shots. And that, I think, in and of itself is massive. And I think that in and of itself is a huge sort of benefit for the Lakers. It just gives them another consistent scorer. He is a guy that can hit threes occasionally. He just doesn't take a lot of them. I mean, last year he was 36% from three, but he only took 2 attempts per game. His highest shooting percentage was in the 2017-2018, in which he shot just under 4 threes. He's basically a 2 3-point attempt guy who shoots 30% for his career. So he's not a guy that takes a lot, but you don't really need him to, right? I mean, the Lakers are not a good 3-point shooting team now, right? And they were able to make it to the Western Conference Finals. And to have a guy in DeMar DeRozan who can knock down the consistent mid-range at 50%, I'd rather have that because a made 2 is better than a missed 3. Right? So if the Lakers defense, they have the defense to kind of mask DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan actually, I mean, he's not a good defender by any means, but he's not a bad defender. He's not worse than a D'Angelo Russell. Again, it just comes down to what do the Chicago Bulls want? What are they looking for? Because the Lakers have a couple options, right? So they could either go and trade D'Lo, right? And whatever else. You could go trade D'Lo and Mo Bamba or something like that, depending on how much you pay D'Lo. I mean, D'Lo could actually, if he gets the $30 million a year or $25 million, then you could just swap D'Lo for DeMar straight up. But if they don't want that, then what you could do is you could go DeMar DeRozan for Malik Beasley, Mo Bamba, and that would get you to the money that you need because that gets you to about $26 million, where 26 and a half, where DeMar is making like 28 and a half. If you need to, just add Shaquille Harrison, and then there you go. There's the gap. If the Lakers don't want to take on that extra $2 million, Chicago, they would get those 2 pieces. They could keep them, right? Because Mo Bamba's still very young. It could be a young center that they grow and develop. Malik Beasley gives them a 3-point shooter, or they could just let him go because it doesn't cost them anything. And then they free up the cap space for DeMar DeRozan, which is valuable. And then they could go and get maybe, like I said, the 17th pick or something like that in that deal. I don't think that's bad for a guy like DeMar DeRozan, especially if you're trying to push now for a championship. You still get to keep D'Lo. But if it was me, I would look to maybe move D'Lo, right, and try to go get some bench depth or try to get some shooting. So instead of using D'Lo to try to go get another star, maybe use D'Lo to go get a couple other pieces. Maybe go try to get a Buddy Hield or something like that to kind of replace Malik Beasley. And then you could even run Austin Reeves at the 1. So you could go Reeves, DeMar, right? You could go Rui or Vanderbilt, LeBron and AD, and now you have the scoring, you have everything. Or you could even run DeMar at the 3 because he's got his 6'6" size. So you could even, if you wanted to, certain matchups, maybe even go Buddy Hield. So go Austin Reeves, Buddy Hield, DeMar, LeBron and AD, and then have Vando and Rui. They could come off the bench. There's ways to go about it. I mean, it give you flexibility. It give you that other star. Austin, you'd have good size, especially if you play DeMar at the 2, because then that means your smallest guy on the court would be Austin Reeves at 6'5". So you'd have a 6'5" point guard, a 6'6" shooting guard. Let's say you go with, Jared Vanderbilt, right? Or again, you could go Rui Hachimura, but let's say you go Jared Vanderbilt because you need to kind of make up for LeBron's lack of defense during the regular season and DeMar's lack of defense. So you go Jared Vanderbilt, gives you a 6'8", 6'9" guy. LeBron James 6'8", and then you got Anthony Davis. I don't think that that's bad at all. And DeMar DeRozan, again, is a guy that is consistent. You know what you're going to get from him. You know what he's going to provide and what he's going to deliver on game in and game out. He's a guy that will give you 20 plus a game in the playoffs, a guy that'll give you, 20 plus a game during the course of the regular season. He wanted to be a Laker. He wants to be a Laker. He's even played power forward a lot for Chicago, which is pretty interesting, and even played some for San Antonio, which is pretty interesting. So you could even go that route if you wanted to and have him just kind of be a mid-range guy at points. I think he gives you flexibility. I think he gives you a third scoring option. I think he's a realistic star that you could get for the Lakers, because that's the thing. If the Lakers are so adamant about getting a third star, obviously you'd like to get a Kyrie or a Trae Young or a Damian Lillard or something like that. That would be ideal. But one, that's going to cost a lot more. Two, how realistic are any of those things? And three, it's like, DeMar DeRozan, I think still would fit. I think it would work, right? Because he can play off the ball. Plays off the ball all the time in Chicago. He can also play on the ball and play make. So that helps. I mean, he averages 5 assists a game, and he's a willing passer. He wants to be a Laker. He wanted to play with LeBron and AD. He thought he was. So this is somebody that already had it in his mind of like, okay, I'm going to be the third option. But he really wouldn't have to be. He would be probably the second option. And his ability to just score the basketball, I think, would be huge for the Lakers and much needed. But, what do you think? Would you be okay with DeMar DeRozan? Again, I'm not giving up both for. If Chicago wants the 17th pick and the 29th pick, you can miss me with that. I would even try to keep the 17th pick. But Chicago very likely is going to want to rebuild, and if so, they're going to want to rebuild now. Because I was thinking, I'd almost be more willing to trade the 29th pick than the 17th pick. But, I don't know. I don't think you need to give up first round picks, period, for DeMar. Again, what is the market, right? And here's the thing. DeMar DeRozan is a free agent next year. Not this year coming up. The following year, 2024. So, if you're can you get DeMar DeRozan for, a Rui Hachimura deal? Can you get him for, Beasley, Mo Bamba, and 4 second-round picks? Because if you can do that, in my opinion, that is a steal. That is a home run, right? And can you do something like that? Because if you can, then I think you have to do it. But if it's we want the 17th pick and we want the 29th, I'd be like, go find somewhere else to trade him. Good luck. Because again, who's giving up a bunch of assets for DeMar DeRozan at age 33? I just don't see it. I think the market for DeMar would be extremely limited. And Chicago, you could do worse than the 17th pick in this year's draft. There's a lot of prospects. Take Beasley, take Mo Bamba, take the 17th pick. Give us DeMar DeRozan. Lakers now have DeMar, LeBron, AD, Rui, Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, Max Christie. You basically got your core guys there. You keep all your depth, right? You still have D'Angelo Russell, who now you can look to maybe go take the 29th pick and use that to go leverage some other deal. And you'd still have 4 seconds to trade. Maybe take D'Lo and go, and like I said, get a Buddy Hield or something like that. Give up the 29th pick and Buddy Hield. Imagine if you had a roster of DeMar, Reeves, Vanderbilt, LeBron, and AD. And then off the bench, you have Max Christie, Rui Hachimura, Buddy Hield. You're in a good spot, right? That's not a bad position to be in at all. You got basically 8 blue chip level guys that can all play, all do multiple things, I think it's a no-brainer if you can get it, depending on what the price is. But do you feel the same way? Do you not? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know.